Alan Carter couldn't believe his eyes. The readings on his screen at the Lunar Observatory made no sense. Energy signatures that defied all known physics were appearing at the edge of the solar system. He rubbed his tired eyes and checked again. The anomaly was still there, growing stronger. "Kate, you need to see this," he called to his colleague, Dr. Kate Morgan, who also happened to be an admiral in Earth's defense fleet. She walked over, coffee in hand. "What am I looking at, Alan?" "I don't know. But whatever it is, it's big and it's coming our way." Within hours, Alan's discovery was confirmed by observatories across Earth and Mars. Within days, the first visual confirmation came through. Massive ships, unlike anything humans had built, entering the solar system with purpose. Earth changed. Overnight. People gathered in streets, in homes, in bars, anywhere with screens showing the approaching vessels. Some panicked, some prayed, some celebrated, but everyone waited. President Sam Wallace addressed a nervous planet. "Fellow citizens of Earth and our colonies, we face an unprecedented moment in human history. First contact with an alien civilization appears imminent. I ask for calm and unity as we prepare to greet these visitors." Admiral Morgan wasn't convinced. They were visitors. As head of Earth's defense fleet, she ordered all available ships to defensive positions. Her fleet was impressive by human standards, 30 warships with the latest technology. But as she watched the alien armada approach on her command center screens, she knew they were outmatched. The alien ships were enormous, some nearly the size of small moons. 7 days after Alan's discovery, the alien fleet positioned itself around Earth. Communication systems worldwide received the same transmission. On screens everywhere appeared a reptilian face with metallic scales that reflected light like polished bronze. Its eyes glowed with an eerie blue bioluminescence. "People of Earth," the alien spoke in perfect English. "I am High Commander Zextur of the Zilarian Empire. Your planet now falls under our protection and authority. You will submit to become a protectorate of our empire. You will provide resources and soldiers as required. Your technology will be assessed and improved. Your way of life will continue under our guidance. This is not a negotiation. You have 1 Earth week to prepare for integration. Resistance would be inadvisable." The screen went dark, leaving billions in stunned silence. President Wallace called an emergency meeting with Earth's top military and scientific minds. The meeting room in the underground White House bunker was tense. Admiral Morgan stood at one end of the table, Dr. Carter at the other. "We can't possibly fight them," said General Ryan Cook. "Did you see the size of those ships?" "So we just surrender our planet?" Admiral Morgan slammed her fist on the table. "Become their slaves?" Dr. Carter cleared his throat. "I've been analyzing the message. The term protectorate is interesting. It suggests they don't just destroy civilizations, they absorb them." "That's supposed to be comforting?" asked Secretary of Defense Mary Wilson. Carter opened his tablet. "I've been going through our astronomical databases. The ship designs match strange readings we've detected near other star systems over the past decade. Based on their travel patterns, I believe the Zilarians have conquered at least 17 other worlds." The room fell silent. "And what happened to those worlds?" President Wallace finally asked. "Based on changes in industrial output and energy signatures we've observed, they became resource extraction colonies. No species has ever successfully resisted them. On Mars Colony, mining engineer Joe Miller noticed something strange. The alien ships that had taken position over the Martian surface caused strange energy fluctuations in his equipment when they passed near certain mineral deposits. Joe wasn't a scientist, but 5 years of working with Martian minerals had given him good instincts. He recorded the readings and sent them to his ex-wife, Lisa Miller, who worked in the astronomy department back on Earth. Their marriage hadn't survived his move to Mars, but their professional respect for each other remained strong. "Lisa, I'm seeing some weird interactions between the alien ships and mineral deposit XM327. Sending you the data. Might be nothing, but thought you should see it. Stay safe." "Joe." Lisa received the message during the chaos of evacuation orders. Major cities were emptying as people fled to rural areas fearing alien attacks. She almost deleted Joe's message, but something made her open it. The readings made her pause. She forwarded them to her boss, Dr. Carter, with a note. Need to. Show you ASAP. Could be important. 5 days after the Zilarian ultimatum, Earth's response was ready. Diplomat Ben Hayes was chosen to deliver it. His message was broadcast from the United Nations to the Zilarian command ship. High Commander Zex Tour, we have received your offer to become a protectorate of the Zilarian Empire. After careful consideration, humanity respectfully declines. Earth and its colonies will remain free and independent. We welcome peaceful exchange of knowledge and culture, but we will not surrender our sovereignty. The response came within minutes. Zexi Tour's face appeared on screens worldwide, his expression unreadable to human eyes. Your response is unexpected. No species has declined our generous offer in over 300 cycles. Perhaps a demonstration will help you understand your situation. Without warning, massive energy beams shot from 3 Zilarian ships. They converged on the moon, specifically targeting the lunar colonies. In seconds, the habitats that housed over 20,000 people were vaporized. The attack was precise, destroying the colonies while leaving the moon itself mostly intact. This was mercy, Zex Tour continued. A small demonstration. Your lunar outpost for 20,000 lives. The next demonstration will cost millions. Reconsider your answer. Grief and rage swept across Earth. Admiral Morgan deployed her fleet despite knowing they were outmatched. All ships, battle formation Delta. We're not going down without a fight. As Earth's warships moved into position, Dr. Carter and Lisa Miller worked frantically in their lab, analyzing Joe's data from Mars. These readings are incredible, Carter said, pointing to his screen. The Zilarian ships show energy fluctuations when near deposits of isotope 327. Joe noticed it on Mars. Lisa replied. Could it be a vulnerability? Maybe. This isotope has unusual properties. It seems to create some kind of resonance with their energy systems. Carter looked up from his screen, his eyes wide with the first glimmer of hope. Lisa, I think we might have found their weakness. As Earth prepared for war, President Wallace authorized a top-secret initiative, Project Defiance. Its mission, find a way to use isotope 327 against the Zilarians before the next demonstration could claim millions of lives. The clock was ticking. Humanity had refused to kneel. Now they needed to find a way to fight back. The destruction of the lunar colonies changed everything. 20,000 lives snuffed out in seconds. Earth mourned, but there was no time for grief. They had to act. Admiral Morgan's fleet engaged the Zilarian ships in Earth's orbit. Human. Weapons fired. Missiles launched, but they barely scratched the alien shields. Earth ships exploded one after another as the Zilarians responded with precision strikes. Status report, Morgan shouted as her flagship, the Liberty, shook from a near miss. Shields at 12%, Admiral, reported Lieutenant Eric Bell. We've lost the Washington and the Beijing. The Moscow is heavily damaged. What about our weapons? Are we doing any damage at all? Sergeant Frank Pierce, the tactical officer, studied his screens intensely. Wait, there's something strange happening. They're shields. They flicker when hit with our electromagnetic pulse weapons. The effect is small, but it's there. Morgan looked over his shoulder. Show me. Pierce replayed the footage. When the EMP hit the alien shields at a specific frequency, there was a microsecond of shield failure before it stabilized again. Good eye, Sergeant. Keep hitting them with EMPs. Focus on that frequency. Send the data to all remaining ships. The Liberty fired again, this time adjusting their EMP weapons. The effect was small, but real. The Zilarian shields weakened slightly. Longer before recovering. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Carter and Lisa Miller worked without sleep. The data Joe had sent from Mars was their only hope. The isotope creates a disruption in their energy fields, Carter explained to President Wallace. Over a secure video call, it's like finding the exact musical note that shatters a glass. If we can weaponize this, we might have a chance. How long will it take? Wallace asked. Lisa stepped forward. That's the problem, sir. We need more of the isotope. It's rare even on Mars. I can get it, Joe Miller's voice joined the call from Mars. My mining team knows where the largest deposits are, but we need time. Wallace nodded. I'll buy you that time. We're sending Ben Hayes back to negotiate. He'll stall them. Diplomat Hayes returned to the United Nations building. A holographic image of Zek's tour hovered above the General Assembly Hall. We are considering your terms, Hayes lied smoothly. But we need clarification on several points. What exactly does protectorate status entail? How many resources would be required? What rights would Earth citizens retain? Zek's tour's reptilian face showed what might have been amusement. These details concern you? Very well. The Zellarian Empire is generous to those who serve willingly. As Hayes kept the Zellarians talking, survivors from the lunar colonies were making their own discoveries. Engineer Patricia Coleman had managed to escape in a maintenance pod before the destruction. She drifted for days before being picked up by a Martian transport. Now she led a group of survivors with a daring plan. The Zellarians are sending scout ships to Earth's surface, she told her team. They're taking samples, soil, water, plants. We need to capture one of those ships. Under cover of night, Patricia's team waited near a predicted landing site in the Australian outback. When the small Zellarian craft landed and 3 alien soldiers emerged, the humans were ready. Using modified EMP devices based on Sergeant Pierce's discovery, they momentarily disabled the aliens' weapons and suits. The fight was brief but violent. 2 humans died, but they managed to kill the aliens and access their ship. Patricia worked quickly, downloading data from the ship's computers before rigging it to explode after they left. We've got it, she told the others. Information on their internal systems, communications, even some technical specs. This could be exactly what we need. On Mars, Joe Miller led a dangerous expedition to the Olympus Mons mining region. Zellarian patrols were everywhere, but Joe knew the tunnels and caves better than anyone. The richest deposit of isotope 327 is 2 kilometers inside the eastern ridge, he told his team of 5 miners. We need to extract at least 20 kilograms to make a difference. How do we get past the alien patrols? Asked Diane Reed, his most experienced driller. Joe pointed to the tunnel entrance. They're watching the main shafts, but there's an old lava tube that connects to the lower levels. It's a tight squeeze, but they won't see us coming. The miners moved through the narrow passage, equipment strapped to their backs. After hours of crawling through the dark, they reached the mining level. Start drilling here, Joe ordered. And be quiet about it. Sound carries in these caves. Back in Earth orbit, Admiral Morgan's fleet continued their seemingly hopeless battle. They were down to 7 ships against dozens of Zellarian vessels. But they had a new strategy: hit and run attacks targeting the same shield frequencies, never staying in one place long enough for the Zellarians to focus their superior firepower. We can't win, Morgan told her crew. But we don't need to win. We just need to survive long enough. In his laboratory, Dr. Carter made a breakthrough. Using small samples of isotope 327 they already had, he created a prototype device that amplified the isotope's effect on Zellarian technology. It works, he shouted to Lisa. Even this small amount disrupts their energy signatures for nearly 30 seconds. That's still not enough to... Lisa began. But what if we build a bigger version? A planet-based weapon that could target multiple ships at once? Lisa's eyes widened. We'd need more isotope than Joe can mine. Maybe not, Carter said, pulling up a diagram. What if we use Earth's magnetic field as an amplifier? We place smaller devices at strategic points around the globe, then link them together. President Wallace received the news with the first real hope in days. How quickly can you build it? 3 days, maybe 4, Carter replied. But we need to get Joe's isotope shipment from Mars. The situation grew more desperate when Zextur, growing impatient with Hayes's delaying tactics, ordered a second demonstration. A Zellarian destroyer positioned itself over New York City. You test my patience, humans, Zextur's message played, worldwide. Perhaps you need a stronger reminder of your situation. A beam of energy shot down from the ship. In seconds, Manhattan Island was gone, leaving only a steaming crater filled with seawater. Millions died instantly. You have one more day to surrender, Zextur declared, or we begin planetary sterilization. As Earth reeled from the devastating attack, Joe's team on Mars finished extracting the precious isotope, loading the containers. Onto a small transport, they prepared for the most dangerous part of their mission, breaking through the Zalarian blockade to reach Earth. Everyone ready? Joe asked, strapping himself into the pilot's seat. Once we launch, there's no turning back. His team nodded grimly. Joe fired up the engines. Earth, this is Mars Transport MT-17. We have the package. We're coming home. Joe Miller's transport ship burst away from Mars, accelerating toward Earth. Within minutes, Zalarian patrol ships noticed them and gave chase. They're gaining on us, Diane Reed said, watching the radar. 3 pursuit ships closing fast. Joe pushed the engines beyond their safety limits. The small transport shuddered and groaned. We can't outrun them, he said, but we don't have to. He flipped a switch, activating the emergency beacon. This is Mars Transport MT-17 requesting immediate assistance. We have wounded colonists. Aboard. Engine failure imminent. The Zalarians had been monitoring human communications. They heard the distress call but didn't know what the ship really carried. Let's hope they believe we're just frightened civilians, Joe told his crew. The ruse worked. The Zalarian ships slowed their pursuit, switching from attack mode to capture. They didn't want to destroy a ship that might contain useful human specimens. Back on Earth, Admiral Morgan received the transmission from Joe's ship. They're coming, in hot with Zalarians on their tail, her communications officer reported. Deploy the Lincoln and Jefferson to escort them in, Morgan ordered. Tell Dr. Carter to be ready. The moment that isotope lands, we move to Phase 2. Patricia Coleman and her team from the lunar colony had reached Dr. Carter's laboratory with the data stolen from the Zalarian scout ship. The information proved invaluable. Their ships use a quantum entanglement system for power distribution, Carter explained as he studied the alien data. That's why our weapons have been so ineffective. But the isotope disrupts the entanglement. Lisa Miller pointed to a diagram on the screen. Look at this power node configuration. If we can disrupt it at exactly the right point, the entire system cascades into failure, Carter finished her thought. Patricia, your team just gave us the key. Using the Zalarian schematics, they refined their prototype weapon. They now knew exactly where to target the alien vessels for maximum effect. President Wallace addressed a frightened but determined Earth from an underground bunker. The destruction of New York had hardened humanity's resolve, rather than breaking. Today we fight not just for our survival but for our freedom, Wallace said. The Zalarians believe we will surrender. They are wrong. Humanity does not kneel. Across the planet, the remaining military forces prepared for what might be their final battle. Civilians joined emergency defense forces. Everyone who could hold a weapon or operate equipment was mobilized. In orbit, Joe's transport ship was approaching Earth with its precious cargo when the Zalarian vessels suddenly accelerated. They're making a move, Joe shouted. They must have scanned our cargo. The transport's engines were already at maximum. They couldn't go any faster. The Zalarian ships fired, their energy beams just missing the small human vessel. Hang on, Joe yelled as he threw the ship into a wild spiral, dodging another blast. The Lincoln and Jefferson, Earth's interceptor ships, arrived just in time, placing themselves between the transport and the Zalarians. They opened fire with their enhanced EMP weapons, focusing on the frequencies Sergeant Pierce had identified. Get to the surface, MT-17, the Lincoln's captain radioed. We'll cover you. Joe didn't waste time responding. He pushed the transport into a steep descent toward Earth as the battle raged behind them. Both Earth ships were destroyed, but they'd bought enough time. The transport broke through the atmosphere, heading for the landing zone at Carter's facility. When the ship landed, teams rushed to unload the isotope containers. Joe emerged, looking exhausted but triumphant. 22 kilograms of isotope 327, he reported to Dr. Carter. Will it be enough? It has to be, Carter replied. Come on, let's get it to the lab. High above Earth, High Commander Zextur's patience had run out. The human deadline had passed with no surrender. The Zalarian fleet moved into formation for the final attack. Planetary bombardment. Begin targeting all major population centers, Sextor ordered. No more demonstrations. Full sterilization protocol. Admiral Morgan's remaining ships formed a desperate last line of defense. They were outnumbered 10-1, but they would fight to the end. All vessels, Battle Plan Omega, Morgan commanded. We hit them with everything we've got. Target the same shield frequencies. Concentrate fire on their weapon systems. On the Earth's surface, Carter and his team worked frantically to complete their weapon. The isotope was carefully placed into the devices they had built around the globe. Each one was positioned along Earth's magnetic lines. Power levels rising, Lisa reported as they activated the first device. Resonance is building. Link the network, Carter instructed. All stations prepare for synchronized activation. At Patricia Coleman's signal, teams at each station around the world activated their devices simultaneously. The effect was immediate. Earth's magnetic field began to amplify the isotope's resonance frequency, sending waves of disruption into space. In orbit, the Zalarian ships suddenly experienced power fluctuations. Their shields flickered and weapon systems went offline temporarily. What is happening? Sextor demanded as alarms blared throughout his command ship. The answer came in the form of Admiral Morgan's fleet. With the Zalarian shields compromised, Earth ships fired their enhanced EMP weapons, followed by conventional missiles and energy weapons. For the first time, their attacks did real damage. 3 Zalarian ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. But the effect was temporary. The isotope network needed time to recharge between pulses. The Zalarian ships began to recover. Their systems are adapting, Carter shouted, watching the readings. The disruption won't work as well next time. They needed to capitalize on their advantage quickly. That's when Sergeant Pierce proposed a daring plan. Admiral, he said to Morgan over the comm, we need to get a team aboard one of their ships. If we can plant an isotope device directly into their power core, the effect would be catastrophic. That's suicide, Morgan replied. Maybe not, Pierce argued. Patricia's team downloaded their internal schematics. We know how to get in, and with their shields weakened. Morgan made her decision. Assemble your team, Sergeant. You have one shot at this. Pierce recruited Patricia Coleman for her knowledge of Zalarian systems. Together with 4 soldiers, they boarded a modified shuttle and launched toward the nearest disabled Zalarian vessel. As they approached, the alien ship's systems were beginning to recover. They had minutes at most before full power returned. There, Patricia pointed to a maintenance hatch on the ship's underside. That's our way in. The shuttle docked with the alien vessel. Pierce and his team, carrying a portable isotope device, built by Carter, cut their way inside. On Earth, Joe looked at the radar with growing alarm. Despite their initial success, the majority of the Zalarian fleet remained intact. The isotope network was already showing signs of strain. We need more time, he told Lisa. She grabbed his arm. I have an idea. If we reverse the field polarity on the next pulse. They raced to implement her suggestion before the next activation. It was a desperate gamble, but they were out of options. In space, Sergeant Pierce's team moved through the alien ship, following Patricia's directions. They encountered resistance, Zalarian soldiers who fought fiercely to protect their vessel. 2 humans fell in the fighting, but the team pushed on. We're almost at the main power core, Patricia said, checking the schematics. Just through this chamber. Sergeant Pierce and Patricia Coleman stood before the massive door leading to the Zalarian ship's power core. 2 of their team members were dead. The remaining soldier, Corporal Greg Davis, was wounded but still fighting. How do we get through? Pierce asked, eyeing the thick metal barrier. Patricia studied the alien control panel. I saw this in the schematics. It needs Zalarian DNA to open. Like this? Corporal Davis pulled a severed Zalarian hand from his pack. The others stared at him. What? I thought it might be useful. Patricia pressed the dead hand against the panel. The door slid open with a hiss, revealing a chamber bathed in pulsing blue light. In the center floated a sphere of swirling energy, the ship's quantum power core. We need to place the device as close to the core as possible, Patricia said, pointing to a walkway that extended toward the sphere. Pierce took the isotope device from his pack. "I'll do it. The radiation will kill you before you make it halfway," Patricia warned. "Then I'll move fast." Before they could argue, a blast of energy tore through the doorway. More Zalarian soldiers had found them. Corporal Davis spun around. "Returning fire." "Go," he shouted. "I'll hold them off." Pierce and Patricia ran toward the walkway as Davis fought a desperate rearguard action. They could hear him firing steadily, then the sounds of combat stopped. The Zalarians would be right, behind them. On Earth, Lisa Miller's modification to the isotope network was ready. By reversing the field polarity, they hoped to create a more powerful disruption pulse, but they could only do it once before the system would burn out. "All stations report ready," Joe Miller said, watching the monitors. "Capacitors at maximum. Charge." Dr. Carter looked at President Wallace, who had joined them in the main control center. "Sir, once we do this, the network will be offline for at least 30 minutes while it recharges. If it doesn't work..." "We're out of options, Doctor," Wallace replied grimly. "Do it." Carter activated the system. Around the world, the isotope devices pulsed with energy. Earth's magnetic field lit up with patterns of light visible from space. The modified pulse shot upward toward the Zalarian fleet. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Every Zalarian ship in orbit experienced massive power failures. Systems went dark, weapons offline, engines dead. But the effect wouldn't last long. "Admiral Morgan, this is your window," Carter radioed. "Hit them with everything we've got." Morgan's fleet surged forward, launching a coordinated attack on the disabled Zalarian vessels. Earth's remaining missiles and energy weapons struck with precision. 5 more Zalarian ships exploded in quick succession. But even as they celebrated this small victory, radar operators detected a new threat. "Sir," multiple contacts emerging from behind Jupiter's moon. Everyone watched in horror as a second Zalarian fleet appeared. A reserve force held in hiding. Fresh ships untouched by the isotope pulse moving quickly toward Earth. "We're finished," someone whispered. That's when the impossible happened. From beneath Europa's icy surface emerged ships, human ships, 40 of them, sleek and advanced, unlike anything in Earth's known fleet. "This is Admiral Carol Turner of the Europa Defense Fleet," came a transmission on all channels. "Earth Defense, we are moving to engage the enemy. Stand by for support." In the control center, stunned silence gave way to confusion. "Europa Defense Fleet? What is this?" Wallace demanded. "Did anyone know about this?" General Cook stepped forward. "Sir, Operation Last Hope, a black project started 30 years ago, funded off the books by a coalition of nations. We always feared we might one day face an overwhelming alien force." "And you kept this from your president?" Wallace's voice was cold with anger. "From every president, sir. The project was too important to risk being shut down by politics. I'm sorry." They watched as the Europa fleet engaged the second Zalarian force. The hidden human ships were smaller than the alien vessels, but they moved with incredible speed and precision. Their weapons, advanced prototypes based on theoretical physics, carved through Zalarian shields more effectively than anything Earth had used so far. Aboard the Zalarian ship, Pierce and Patricia reached the edge of the power core chamber. The isotope device was armed and ready. "I need to get closer," Pierce said, eyeing the distance to the energy sphere. Patricia grabbed his arm. "Wait. Look." The power core was fluctuating wildly, affected by the pulse from Earth. Sections of it were collapsing inward. "It's already destabilizing," she said. "If we time this right..." They watched the pulsations, looking for a pattern. Behind them, they could hear Zalarian soldiers approaching. "Now!" Patricia shouted. Pierce threw the device with all his strength. It sailed across the chamber and disappeared into the fluctuating core just as a team of Zalarian soldiers burst into the room. The effect was instantaneous. The energy sphere collapsed, then expanded violently. Alarms blared throughout the ship. "Core breach, we need to get out," Patricia shouted. They ran back toward their shuttle, ducking energy blasts from the pursuing Zalarians. The entire ship was shaking, sections beginning to tear apart. In Earth orbit, Admiral Morgan watched as the Zalarian vessel where Pierce's team had gone suddenly erupted with blue fire along its hull. "They did it," she whispered. Dr. Carter studied the readings from the explosion. The isotope created a chain reaction in their power system. The disruption is spreading to nearby ships through their quantum entanglement network. 3 more Zalarian ships suffered cascade failures, their systems overloading in sympathy with the first. But Pierce and Patricia's shuttle didn't appear. In the chaos of battle, the Europa fleet was making significant advances against the second Zalarian force. Their ships moved in perfect coordination, using tactics the aliens had never encountered. Hi. Commander Zextur watched from his flagship as his carefully planned invasion fell apart. "Impossible," he snarled. "These primitives should have surrendered immediately." His second-in-command approached cautiously. "High Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the humans." "Put it through." President Wallace's face appeared on the screen. "High Commander Zextur, you came to our system expecting us to kneel. Instead, we have destroyed a significant portion of your fleet. I offer you one chance to withdraw your forces peacefully." Zextur's scaled face contorted with rage. "You dare dictate terms to the Zalarian Empire? I will burn your world to ash." "I thought you might say that," Wallace replied calmly. "Admiral Turner, you may proceed with Phase 2. The Europa fleet suddenly broke off its attack and regrouped into a new formation. The ships linked their energy systems together, creating a massive combined field. Then as one they fired at Zextur's flagship. The concentrated energy beam cut through the Zalarian shields like they weren't there. The massive command ship's hull split open, atmosphere venting into space. "How?" Zextur gasped as his ship died around him. How did they do this? His last act was to activate the emergency beacon, sending a warning to the Empire about the unexpected strength of these humans. As the Zalarian flagship broke apart, the remaining alien vessels began to retreat. Some tried to jump to faster-than-light travel too close to Earth's gravity well and tore themselves apart. Others managed to escape, fleeing toward the outer solar system. In the control center, the mood was one of cautious victory. They had survived against all odds. But the cost had been terrible. Millions dead, cities destroyed, and no sign of Pierce or Patricia's shuttle. "Sir," a communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from Mars orbit. It's Sergeant Pierce." On the screen appeared Pierce and Patricia, battered but alive, in a small Zalarian shuttle they had stolen during their escape. "Sorry for the delay," Pierce said with a tired grin. "Had to take a scenic route. These alien controls are tricky." As celebrations erupted around the room, Admiral Turner of the Europa fleet contacted President Wallace. "Mr. President, the immediate threat has been neutralized. But this was just one battle. The Zalarians will be back and in greater numbers." Wallace nodded solemnly. "Then we need to be ready. Dr. Carter, how quickly can we adapt this isotope technology for our fleet?" Carter looked at Lisa and Joe, who had worked tirelessly beside him. "With what we've learned, weeks, not months. And with the Zalarian technology, we can salvage good," Wallace said, "because next time we're taking the fight to them." 6 months passed since the Zalarian invasion. Earth had changed forever. Countries once divided by borders and politics now worked together with a single purpose: preparing for the next attack. The devastation of New York and the lunar colonies remained a painful reminder of what they faced. In orbit, a new defense fleet grew day by day. Salvaged Zalarian technology combined with human innovation created ships unlike anything Earth had built before. The Europa fleet, once hidden, now trained openly with Earth's forces. At the newly constructed United Earth Defense Headquarters in Geneva, Admiral Kate Morgan studied the battle plans. Beside her stood Admiral Carol Turner of the Europa fleet. "The isotope weapons are integrated into all frontline vessels," Morgan reported. "Dr. Carter's team has improved the efficiency by 300%. Turner nodded approvingly. "And the shield technology? Reverse-engineered from Zalarian designs. Not as strong as theirs yet, but getting there." They were interrupted by President Wallace, who entered with Dr. Alan Carter and Lisa Miller. We've decoded more of the Zalarian database from their crashed ships, Carter announced without preamble. We know where they came from. He activated the holographic display showing a star map. A red dot pulsed 27 light-years from Earth. Their home system, Carter explained. And these blue dots are worlds they've conquered. 17 civilizations, just as we suspected. Can we reach them? Wallace asked. Turner stepped forward. The Europa fleet's drives were already advanced. But with the Zalarian tech we've integrated, yes, we can make the journey. There's more, Lisa added. We've translated their military communications. The Zalarians have never faced a serious defeat before. Their entire empire is built on the assumption of their superiority. Zexatur's warning message has thrown their leadership into chaos. So they're vulnerable, Morgan concluded. Yes, Carter agreed. But they're also gathering a massive fleet to return and finish what they started. Wallace studied the star map thoughtfully. Then we don't wait for them to come to us. We strike. First, in the shipyards orbiting Mars, Joe Miller supervised the loading of isotope weapons onto the flagship of Earth's new fleet, the Defiance. The massive vessel incorporated the best of human and Zalarian technology, with Patricia Coleman heading the engineering team. Final weapon check complete, Patricia reported, approaching Joe on the observation deck. We're ready. Joe nodded, looking out at the fleet of ships stretching into the distance. Hard to believe 6 months ago we were just trying to survive. Patricia smiled wryly. And now we're taking the fight to them. Their conversation was interrupted by Sergeant Pierce, now Colonel Pierce, who joined them at the viewport. Admiral Turner wants all senior staff on the bridge. It's time. Aboard the Defiance's bridge, the ship's officers gathered around the command table. Admiral Turner addressed them, her face solemn. Today we launch Operation Retribution. Our mission is clear. Locate and contact the 17 worlds conquered by the Zalarian Empire and offer them alliance and liberation. Then, together, we strike at the heart of the Empire itself. Morgan added, Intelligence from their databases suggests many of these subjugated species have maintained underground resistance movements. They're waiting for an opportunity. What if they don't trust us? Joe asked. We're strangers to them. That's why we bring proof, Pierce said. The wreckage of Zalarian ships, records of our victory, and most importantly, the isotope weapon technology that can be easily produced on any world with the right minerals. President Wallace's face appeared on the main screen, addressing the assembled fleet from Earth. Men and women of the United Earth Fleet, you carry with you not just the hopes of humanity, but the first real chance of freedom for countless beings across the stars. The Zalarians came to our world expecting us to kneel. Instead, we reduced their fleet to ash. Now we take the fight to them. Throughout the fleet, crews prepared for departure. On the Defiance, Dr. Carter made final adjustments to the enhanced isotope disruption system, the ship's main weapon. Will it work at that range? Lisa asked, helping him calibrate the targeting systems. It should, Carter replied. The quantum resonance effect actually becomes more powerful over greater distances due to the entanglement properties. Lisa smiled. 6 months ago I was analyzing telescope data in a small lab. Now I'm heading to another star. We all have new roles to play, Carter said. On the bridge, Admiral Turner gave the order. All ships, formation Delta, prepare for FTL jump. One by one, the ships of the fleet engaged their drives. Space rippled around them as they accelerated, beyond light speed, leaving the solar system behind. Unknown to the humans, across the galaxy, the effect of their victory was already spreading. On a planet called Neri, the reptilian natives heard whispers of Zalarian ships destroyed by a previously unknown species. On Talax, enslaved for 3 centuries, resistance fighters looked to the stars with new hope. On 17 worlds, word spread, someone had fought the Empire and won. In the Zalarian capital, the High Council met in emergency session. The loss of Zexatur's fleet was unprecedented. These humans must be destroyed completely, declared High Counselor Vexnar. We are assembling the Grand Armada. 500 ships will reduce their world to molten rock. An aide rushed in, interrupting. The Council. Urgent news. Our border outpost in the Gamma sector is under attack. By whom? Vexnar demanded. Unknown vessels, using technology similar to our own, but modified. They've already destroyed 3 defensive platforms. More reports flooded in. Similar attacks were happening at outposts near previously conquered worlds. The pattern became clear. The humans were not just defending, they were liberating. Aboard the Defiance, Admiral Turner received the reports from their advanced forces with satisfaction. The diversionary attacks are succeeding. The Zalarians are spreading their forces thin, trying to respond. Phase 1 complete, Morgan confirmed. Moving to Phase 2. Pierce directed the tactical team. Target the next system, Talax. According to Zalarian records, they've been under Imperial control the longest. Their resistance will be our strongest allies. The fleet regrouped and jumped again, pushing deeper into Zalarian territory. With each liberated world, their coalition grew stronger. Species that had been enemies under Zalarian rule now found common cause. 6 weeks into the campaign, the combined fleet of Earth and 7 liberated worlds prepared for the final push to the Zalarian homeworld. What had begun as 70 ships from Earth had grown to over 300 vessels of various designs and origins. On the Defiance's bridge, Joe Miller looked at the tactical display showing the liberated systems. "We've come a long way," he said, to Lisa, who now served as the fleet's chief science officer. She nodded. "And we've got one more step to take." Admiral Turner addressed the combined fleet, her voice transmitted to ships crewed by 7 different species. "Together we have proven that the Empire is not invincible. Today we end their tyranny once and for all, not for revenge but for freedom." The massive fleet jumped one final time, appearing in orbit around the Zalarian homeworld. But instead of opening fire, Admiral Turner sent a message to the surface. "People of Zalaria, your empire of conquest ends today. But we offer you what you never offered others, the chance to join a peaceful coalition of worlds. The choice is yours, cooperation or defeat." On Earth, President Wallace watched the transmission with Dr. Carter and the others who had stayed behind. The future of not just humanity but many civilizations hung in the balance. "Do you think they'll accept?" Wallace asked. Carter smiled thoughtfully. "They came to our world expecting us to kneel. Instead, we brought freedom to the stars. I think they'll make the right choice now that we've shown them a better way." The president nodded. "Either way, humanity will never kneel.